Hi, guys. Thanks for coming. We start the live session. You ask questions, I answer them, and we start from Telegram questions. So I have a Telegram channel and Telegram chat group where people ask questions. So you asked me a few of them last time, so I'm going to read them out loud and start answering from them. The first, they were in Russian, but I'm still going to translate them to English just for the convenience of everybody. The first question, what happens if you work in a company and this company promote the values which you don't share? For example, they are into some political agenda. So they support some political direction, maybe left, maybe right, or whatever. And you do not share the values. So what do you do? By the way, tell me whether you can see me, hear me, everything is good, just so I don't talk to myself. So say something in the chat that you can actually hear me and can actually see me. Just to confirm. Yeah, okay. So it is a typical situation, actually. I think that happens a lot to us where you do not share the values, you don't like the company. Maybe we can generalize this. You do not like the company for certain reasons, and what kind of reasons? It's not so important. I think, and I said it many times, you need to change your mentality from working for a company to making the company working for you. So the company has to work for you. You have to understand it this way. You have to position yourself this way in your mind. You go to the office, you work in these projects, you write some code, you manage people, you contribute to certain projects. Look how much you get back and how much the company gives you so that you grow, you get your personal results, you get your personal development of your skills. So make your company the main sponsor of your life, the main contributor to your personal progress, to your personal success. And if this happens, then you will not really care about what they share, what kind of values they have. It's not going to be so much important for you. And in every company is this way. In every company I remember where I was working, and the companies which I know, I was using the same approach. I was just trying to see and to get as much as possible from the company, as much values they can provide for me. If I do something, I think I gave this example in some videos some time ago. I was working in some American company some time ago, and they were asking me to create it was a very boring project. It was just necessary to take some data from one database and put this data into another database. So my job was to write a translator, not even to write the translator, but to translate, just to get the data and put it into another database. Extremely boring task. I mean, I don't know how people do these tasks. How can you live with yourself if this is your job, to transfer the data? So, but I needed money, so I needed to work in this setup. So what did I do? I created a translator, but not just created a translator, but I created an open source translator with some principles inside, which may potentially help other people who create similar translators. And I learned a few new technologies while I was working with this translator. I think at that time I learned Spring Process or something, the framework which helps you build certain these ETL translators, or what they're called. So find what you get from there, and only then you start giving them something. So maybe this will help you to find peace with you. But of course, if you see that you're not getting enough, if you see that the company is not giving you more than you giving them, then just go away. Just quit. Find another company. Find the company which will be more tolerant, which will tolerate this position where you earn a lot by giving them some results. Not the other way around. Not first you give them the results, you work for them, you make some guy rich, and only after that, if you have time, like in Google, they the story they gave, like one day out of the whole week where you can do something which you think is interesting, which you think is potentially scientifically or engineeringly interesting. That's ridiculous. 4 days you work for that, and then one day you do something for the company. That's a proper setup. I mean, you do one day something which you don't really like to do, but you have to do it because you contribute to their business. But 4 days You do something which you believe is interesting, which you believe is what needs to be done for the whole world, for the humanity, for the industry. And then one day a week you work for a company, and then you do what they ask you to do. But ideally you do 5 days for for you, and then nothing that you hate. I mean, nothing that you don't like doing for the company. Another question from Telegram. My attitude to branching. I don't know why this question people keep asking about branching, and for some reason, recently I hear people more and more saying that branching is not good. That in Git branching, when you develop the software, they say that don't make branches, because this is how you sort of disturb the development. This is how you make the development less efficient, because you spend more time on this branching, you spend more time on merging, you spend more time on managing the branches. I don't buy this. I don't think this is I don't think that branching is in any way a root cause of the problem with the management in the software team. If you and your team have people who create branches, and then these branches stay too long in their hands and you cannot merge them, and then they create other branches, and then there's a mess in merging, so you cannot merge 2-3 branches together, and then you start resolving these conflicts, all of this is coming from the main problem, which is people are not interested to complete their work. They're interested to be in the office and work as long as they can. So if you have people who are, I said it many times, on the payroll, so if you pay your programmers because they come to the office, they will try to do as little as possible. They will try to close as little tasks as possible. They will try to merge as little branches as possible. They will try to make as many problems with their merging situation, as many troubles, and they will blame the Git. They will blame the branches. They will blame the management. They'll blame everybody just to avoid hard work. That's inevitable. This is what happens. If you do not measure their productivity, if you don't appreciate the results of people who work more, and if you do not punish the people who work less, then you will have all the troubles, branching, unit testing, static, all the troubles will be on your table. So branching is good, because every time you start a branch, you isolate your work, you do a little bit of a work, you stay away from all the disturbance which may come from other programmers. Then you bring your code to the master branch, and gets merged because you implemented something small, something concise, something solid, and it gets in. If it doesn't get in, it's your problem. You try to solve this problem as soon as possible, because you know that in the end of the story, there's money coming, or some reward, or some appreciation. So you want to get there. You don't want to get into any troubles. You don't want to get into merge conflicts. So you try to make your branch as small as possible, and then you get in, and then you start working on something, something new, some other branch. So branching is good. No branching is a kind of weird idea, where people are trying to do what most programmers are doing for the last decades. They're trying to blame the instruments. They're trying to blame the management. They're trying to put their laziness, to hide the laziness, to say that there's no laziness. We're super productive. We're super creative. We're super talented. They're all them. They are the troublemakers. The Git is a troublemaker. The continuous delivery system is a troublemaker. The repository management is wrong, but it's the other way around usually. And the last question from Telegram, I'm not answering all of them, obviously, but the best one, it's about the situation where when you join a team, and as a manager, and they ask you to manage this team, and you're not so happy about the team. This is what the question is about. So what do you do if you have to manage the team, but you don't like what you have? Like, the people are lazy, incompetent, they're junior programmers only, but the problem is too complex for them. So how do you manage the team? Or you just quit and don't manage them? I think I would personally, well, of course, if you have a chance to choose another team, then probably do it. But if you have not if you don't have such a chance, then take the situation as a very good playground for you, is a very good sandbox where you can practice your skills of management, for example. So you deal with a difficult situation, with a complex situation, with a challenging situation, where the resources which you have in hand, the people, are not so easy to manage. And of course, it would be easier for you if all the people were super talented, super productive, super motivated to work on the project. Then you have nothing to do as a manager. Then your job is just to sit and observe what they do and get the salary, which is bigger than their salary. I mean, if you like that in your life, then maybe you should be looking for that. But I think, a more honest and a more interesting way to look at life is actually to look for challenges and to find a way how to solve them. So you have a team of people who you don't know how to work with, then practice your skills. Then maybe create some instructions for them, maybe some guidelines. Maybe you need to organize trainings. Maybe you need to control the scope more tightly. Maybe you need to plan more details. Maybe you need to establish some additional communication channels in the team. So all of your management skills will be tested, will be at practice. So challenge yourself, and that's how you become a better manager. That's it about this. So now we go to the questions from YouTube. First one: if there is no IT in our world, so what profession you will choose? I don't think I'm really attached to IT specifically. I just love to do where I can produce some tangible results, something that I can hold in my hands, something which will have maybe my name written on it, something which will other people use. So this is what makes my work interesting. And so I definitely know what I would not choose. I would definitely not choose a profession where I need to just be a service provider. For example, a teacher. For example, a doctor. For example, a manager maybe. For example, somebody who is doing a service instead of building a product, like a teacher, for example. So maybe I teach in some places, sometimes in universities, sometimes in just online. I do it only because I know that the result of my teaching will be published. It will become the videos will be generated. There will be the product, the video product. I have no idea how people teach the same thing all over again, year by year, every year, getting new students and teaching them the same course, the same material. That's unimaginable for me. I cannot even imagine how I would do that. That would be extremely boring for me. I would try to find something else, a different job. So just doing the same all over again, over and over again, provide the same service, or maybe with a little variation, is absolutely not acceptable. So I want to start, make, close it, call it a name, put a name on it, make it a product, and and give it to people so that people use it. So if you turn off the camera and ask me to teach, I think I said it last time, I would charge you a lot of money for this. But if you let me record it, if you let me make the video out of it, then I'll do it for free. Next question: who owns the world? That's a interesting, funny question. I don't know who owns the world, but I believe that the people who owned the world 300 years ago, I think their families still own the world. I don't think that the ownership of the world is easily moved or easily transferred from one person to another person. I think that these people do not want what they won 300 years ago, what they got 300 years ago. I don't think they are ready to give it away. So we more or less have the same elite group of families, group of clans. I don't know, clans. How do you call them? So these people are in the ownership. You're asking for ownership. Maybe the control is something that they delegate to somebody. They may give it to politicians. They may give it to managers. They may give it to some fund managers. They give it to people who want to control within the lifespan, within their own lifespan. So they're very full of energy. They get born. They get educated. They want to control things. They want to get rich to certain limitations. And the people who own the planet, they just let them do that, and they become millionaires within their life, and they become maybe billionaires. It's okay, but the ownership still remains in the hands of the same group of people. And I think it's not so bad, maybe, because these people over centuries, they developed the philosophy, they developed the principles, they developed the rules of how to do it, how to own the planet, how to own territories, how to own people, how to own us. And they know how to do it. We don't know. If you put me in charge of the country, I mean, not make a president, but really in charge of the land, not a control person. Maybe a control person is not so difficult. You just do it according to the rules which are public. But the rules of ownership, they are not actually written anywhere. They are developed by people, by families. They know how to do it. They know how to defend this huge, massive amount of material, of capital, not to waste it, not to let people to take this away from them. And this knowledge they transfer from generation to generation, and then maybe it's good. This is the value which we accumulate. We together, the whole planet, the whole civilization, we accumulated this knowledge. But yes, it is in the hands of a small group of people. But maybe it's not so bad. If we give this knowledge to everybody, maybe we will face a bigger disaster than we have right now, bigger disasters than we have now. Next question. What do you think happens after we die? You take me for a philosopher, not a programmer. I don't know what happens, but I think it doesn't matter. What matters is what you believe happens after you personally die. We don't know what happens. Probably we'll never know. And the only question is what we believe. And if you ask me what I believe in, then I have a number of theories, which are definitely not mine. And I think that each of these theories are good at certain moment of your life. When you are super happy, you want to take one theory. You want to believe that in some future after you die. When you're super depressed and you get into trouble, then you want to believe in something else. So these are the theories which you rely on in order to survive through the struggles that you face during your life. About exact theories, we can maybe talk some other time. I need to think how to formulate them properly, so you don't take me for a crazy person, for an entirely crazy person. Another question, would you recommend to study further for Java developer with 5 years experience with strong background in object-oriented algorithms and so on? To study further. Well, I think that being a developer has a very close target, which you achieve maybe within the time of 5 years, maybe even sooner, even faster. So becoming the best developer, one of the best developer, I think it's a matter of just really a number of years in one particular language. Because let's take Java. There are not so many things to learn in this language. You can get the exam, like the Oracle certification. You can prepare for the certification in a few months, just take another few years to really master your skills, and then you're more or less done. You are a senior developer in Java. Well, you can learn a few more patterns. You read like 10, 20 books, and that's probably it. So I don't understand how people continue to be Java developers for 20 years and they're so proud of that. I think it's kind of weird when you spend more than 5 years on mastering your skills as a programmer. After that, when you are already a programmer, a good senior programmer, then you start thinking about next step in your career, which may be a manager, which may be a researcher, which may be an author of some technology, which may be a developer of some concept, an author of some paradigm, new principle, new technology, new standard, something like this. So become the author of something, not just a service provider who just writes code for somebody, for food, for some boss, to make somebody rich, but become an author of something which is yours. And in this case, you have no limitation. You can be the author, the developer of some concept for 30 years, for 50 years, for the end of your life. But being a programmer for the end of the life, that's kind of strange, I think, for me. Is Web3 future? What's your opinion? Is it worth to study it with Rust? Web3. I'm not sure we understand Web3 correctly here, me and you, because you're talking Web3 and then you say WebAsm. So maybe because I understand Web3 is the web of distributed of P2P systems like blockchain. I think this is what Web3. Maybe I'm wrong. maybe I'm not. I'm confusing the terms, but I thought that Web3 is more like the web, which consists of P2P systems with no central place. So this is definitely the future. That's interesting. I think it's coming, and it's going to be more and more of that stuff. But unfortunately, it's coming not so fast. It's not coming as we planned. Like take 5 years back, everybody were super excited about blockchain. They were super excited about Ethereum, about these P2P smart contracts, and the whole paradigm of distributed systems. But now I don't see so many distributed systems. We still have the world, the IT, the digital world, controlled by a few large organizations. GitHub is still centralized. Google is centralized. Twitter is centralized. Facebook, all the major platforms which we trust our data, they are centralized. And it doesn't look like these large, giant IT companies are ready to give this power away. And if you mean WebAsm, where this when you develop inside the browser and the whole application is being executed inside the browser, if this is Web3, maybe it is. Like I said, maybe I'm confused with the terms. Then I believe that, well, I don't know what I believe in, but I don't like it. So I still, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I still believe that the computer should be a thin client, a light client, a small client, a client which has not so much computation power. But the large computation power, the majority of computation power should be in the hands, in the data centers. They should be concentrated where they belong, in large underground data centers where nothing can happen, where everything is protected, and they do the computation. We on our devices should have just the data, just the presentation, but not do the computing, not to do the calculation. And to my knowledge, as a user, I'm not a UX expert, but I don't like websites which is using JavaScript a lot. I actually prefer the websites with no JavaScript, where only the HTML5, just the forms, just the data, but everything, I click the button and everything goes to the server and gets managed there, gets processed there. Another question. What do you think about the fact that a person has received the role of a team lead, but there are still disagreements in the team that is not all parties are happy? Does this mean that the team lead is simply taking money in vain? Well, I don't think that the job of a team lead is to make people happy. I don't think this is what the project manager should do. Actually, I think the opposite. I think if the team is happy, if everybody in the team is happy, then this is a lousy project manager. I think that somebody has to be very unhappy about the project, about the team lead, about the leader of the group. If this is happening, if we have happy people and unhappy people, then it means that the team lead is actually leading the team, is actually going through some struggle, is actually resolving the conflict, is actually enforcing some rules, some principles, some ideas, which some people have to reject, have to push back. If it's not happening, it means that the team lead is actually sitting there and just observing the reality, seeing what people are doing, not participating in any fights, not presenting his own view of the world, not punishing the people who are not productive, not appreciating the people who are effective. So what kind of leader is that? Maybe I answered your question. There's a question about code coverage. So the question is, if the code coverage is expensive and we cannot cover the whole system with the unit tests, so is it necessary to, is it okay to cover the test with only the critical parts of the code? So if I understand correctly, you're asking, if we have no money, no time to cover everything, what's the point of covering something? I'm in general not really a fan of covering something intentionally, of just thinking about how much do we cover tomorrow, or how much did we cover last month. So how much do we cover in general? Well, the question is, how much do we cover in general? Maybe it's a reasonable question, but thinking about like adding coverage to the code is the question which is asked by a very bad team in a very bad situation. When you ask this question, it seems that the whole development process which you went through over the last months or years was wrongly organized. So you dealt with people who don't know how to develop software. And now you have the situation when the code is not covered by tests. So there are no tests, and you have to do something with that. So maybe it's in this situation. Okay, what you do, definitely you sit down and you think how to fire these people, or maybe to teach them, to train them, because they stop working like that. Maybe you change these people, or maybe you improve them, and then you probably ask these people, or the same people or different people, to add some coverage. But definitely some coverage is better than zero coverage, that's for sure. Maybe a trivial question, I gave you a trivial answer. How a QA, in this case, I think people think testers, how does QA or testers can show themselves on a project where everything is already configured, the process is very mature, and there are no really problematic problems. There is a large bank, for example, in a large bank. So it's an interesting question. So let's say you're a tester, you get hired to this large bank, everything is configured there correctly already. So how can you show yourself? How can you build your career if everything is so good? Well, first of all, I'm not sure that everything is so good. I don't believe in that. I don't think a bank can really build a system where everything is so well configured. That's one thing. And second, I'm thinking what I would do if everything's so good and you want to. Well, the job of a tester is to break the system, is to make the system fail and then explain how it was done. This is what a good tester does. So if you're a tester and it's a bank, so try to experiment with the new interesting mechanisms of breaking the system. How can you make it happen? And I don't think that any bank or any company or any system in the world is bug free or stable enough not to have any problems. So do the analysis of the internals. Look at the code, look at the source code. In the source code, you will have a lot of hints of where the system is unstable. So try to break it from this perspective. So always think in this direction. Usually you will not see many people thinking like that. So most testers who work with you, they think differently. They think that their job is to make the system work correctly. It's just to click the same buttons they were clicking yesterday and to confirm that these buttons are clickable. So they are doing regression testing and that's it. They don't know how to break the system. They're not thinking in this direction. They are regression testers, basically the monkeys who click the buttons because the programmers were not able to automate this process. That's what manual testers do in most cases. They do regression testing. Don't do that. Focus on bug finding. And when you find the bug, when you break the system at a certain point, when you find a security loophole maybe, or just instability somewhere, or maybe just a badly written code, then you will get a reward from the team, definitely, as long as you properly explain what happened. So you're not supposed to just break the system and just step away and say, I don't know what I did, I just broke it. But you have to explain what you did, explain the steps, explain the symptoms of what you saw, how this can be repeated. And of course, you do it safely. So you don't break the production system, you break somewhere where the testing is happening. And then you make a bug report. And the more bug reports you make like this, the more people will respect you, the more appreciate your work, and you will get promoted for sure. And the last thing is, when you do that, remember that a good tester is, first of all, a good programmer. So don't be this monkey button clicker. Instead, think like a programmer. So write some instruments, write some scripts which will break the system. Code your tests. Implement them in automated way. That's again how you will be better than others, because most testers are just button clickers. Next question. The same question about testing. I think I answered it. What are the options for Russian residents to read Elegant Objects 1 and 2? The number of published books are small. EO2 is not available. That's a good question, interesting one. Unfortunately, it's now very hard to ship from these books from Amazon. They are sold on Amazon. They're published by Amazon. And unfortunately, I cannot print them in Russia technically, because That's a funny story, but this paper, which these books are using, the paper is very expensive, and they are not made in Russia for some reason. So there is no Russian factories which can make this type of paper. Anyway, I don't want to change the paper. It may sound funny, but this is the way it is. So I'm trying to find a way how we can ship these books from America, and maybe we'll find those ways. Or maybe they will start making this paper. So the Russian publishers, they cannot print the book in the same quality, and I don't want to compromise the quality. So that's why we don't have them. But I'm trying to solve that. What's going to happen with the rubles, with the Russian currency, and how do we save our earnings in Russia? I don't know. That's first answer, and I can only tell you what I hope will happen. I hope that Russian currency will get stronger and stronger and stronger every year, and maybe in 5 years it will not even get back to where it was 2 years ago, but it will get back to where it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago if we move in 5 years into the future. I hope. I don't see why not. That's my analysis. So I don't see why it's not going to happen, because I see the economy in Russia. I see how people live in Russia. I see how it looks on the streets of Russia, and I see how it looks in Europe, and I see how it looks in America, and I can compare. And it's obvious that that Russia is going up, and America and Europe going down in the practical perspective. I'm not talking politics right now. I'm just talking about practical things. I visit these countries. I visit America time to time. I visit Europe time to time. I was in Europe less than a year ago in Germany. So I can observe the reality and compare with what I see. So I was in Berlin, I was in Frankfurt, and I was in Moscow. I was in St. Petersburg, two large cities in both countries. I can see that the economy of Russia is moving up. I can compare what I saw 10 years ago in Germany, what I saw 10 years ago in Russia. And now I can compare what I see now in Russia after 10 years and in Germany. I can obviously see the degrading line in Germany and upgoing line in Russia by the quality of humans' life. So it tells me that the future of the currency is that economically, maybe politically, we're going to have some pressure on Russia, and it's not going to happen, what I'm predicting. But economically, and the potential that if we continue going this way, then Russian economy will be way stronger in 5 years than it is now, even now. What I think about Chinese cars, the Chinese car market, which is now booming and shipping cars to other countries. Well, I lived in China the whole winter this year, and I saw these cars, and I was driving some of them, and I saw how they sell these cars. It's really phenomenal. It's phenomenal, really. It's interesting. They make a lot of these cars. Somebody told me they make 1 million cars. It's a small factory. They make 1 million cars a year, something like that. And there are many factories like this. There are many companies, the car makers, and they told me that it's easy to make these cars, that making cars with the gas engine, with the traditional engine, it's way more expensive, way more difficult. But making electric cars, it's really easy. It's just a box with the digital devices inside, and the wheel, the steering wheel, the four wheels, and the huge battery. So basically it's like a tram. So like a small engine, which is the size of a watermelon, and then the huge battery, and that's it. Everything else is easy to make. There's no such huge engineering costs. And you can assemble this car way easier, and that is what makes this industry growing so fast. And at the same time, China, the government, encourage the car makers a lot. They encourage the entire market to do that. They have huge restrictions for the car owners who want to buy the petrol car, the traditional car, not electric one. I'm not sure this information is entirely correct, but this is what Chinese people told me. They said that if you buy any car you buy, you need to get a plate. So you need to get this number which you put on the car. So if your car is electric, then to get this plate, you just need to submit the application, and the next day you get the plate if the car is electric. And the plate is, in this case, it's a green one. But if the car is a traditional one, then the plate is blue. And in order to get the blue plate, you need to wait for quite a long time, usually a year or so, a year. And in order to get the plate, there's a lottery. So the plates are being won in a lottery. So you wait until you get a chance to win this plate. So they are not, and when you win the plate, you need to pay, they told me, $15,000. So for the plate, if you buy a Mercedes, for example, then to get this plate, you wait a year and you pay extra $15,000 just to get this car. So imagine how many people are actually interested right now in buying Mercedes, BMW, and all that cars. So the government is encouraging the market to move to electric cars because they are cheaper, they move faster, they don't make noise, they're more comfortable, all the pluses and everything. So, and these cars are coming to Russian market, of course. Unfortunately, we're not getting the prime brands. We're not getting the like Lisan, like this Zikr, what's his correct name? Zik, I think it's Zikr in Chinese. So these top brands, there are not so many of them, even in Moscow. We have more like this Haval, these brands, which are way cheaper than they're not top brands. They're cheap brands. I think it will improve in the future. Again, I'm not an expert in the car business. You can watch on YouTube a lot of stories about that. But if you compare Chinese car market now with the car market 10 years ago, then obviously it's a huge, it's dramatic improvement. So if we continue this trajectory in another 10 years, you can imagine what happened. The German car makers, they will be out of business. The Mercedes, the BMW, Audi, they call it Audi, they will be just bought by Chinese companies. It's just inevitable. We will see it happen. And then the management will be changed and they will stop making Mercedes, they will stop making BMW. Maybe the brand names, they will be the same, but they all will be Chinese. Unless something political will happen, unless somebody who, remember, owns the world, they will make a different decision. They will decide that this is not a good trajectory for all of us. But so far, we're moving there. Next question. Do you agree that there is some slowdown in the development of technology if we compare the periods 2013, 2023, 2003, 2013, 93, 2003? You're talking about the 3 decades in the past. And every decade they give us different technologies. So what I definitely see is we are not, for the last 10 years, we are not writing any fundamentally important books about software development, for example. So I'm teaching this software development principles in some universities, and I have to tell students about the books, what can I recommend them to read. And every time I recommend, I'm trying to recommend something new. I'm trying to recommend the literature which is fresh, which is published just recently, and I cannot. So I cannot find the books which I think are better than what guys like Steve McConnell and Robert Martin and Martin Fowler published 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So there are just no new books which would replace that stuff. They just said everything. They just said everything we as an industry, as a computer science industry, can actually know about this subject. And that actually kind of disturbs me. So I don't know whether it's good or maybe really there is nothing else to say. I don't think so. I think we still have to say something new. But new books are just about new tools, new languages, new tools, new frameworks, but no book about something fundamentally interesting. And that concerns me. But about technology, I don't think so. Look at this ChatGPT. That's something which definitely belongs to the last century, to the last decade, and that's of course it's not a technology which just showed up last year. That's a technology which the civilization was building for many years, for 10 years for sure. So you take into account everything which was created before, and at the end they created ChatGPT, and after ChatGPT, the whole world just started aggressively moving into this direction. So no, I don't think the technologies. I think actually we are innovating faster than before. I think that if you look at the speed of innovation in IT, in computer science, I think where the speed is going up and up and up. So we're making more, and we're making faster and faster and faster. Like every few months, something is happening. When I was a student, I don't remember that. Maybe I didn't feel it, but I don't remember something. I don't remember me reading the news, expecting something really new to show up. Now that is what's happening. So I'm reading the news, and every time I expect something like something breaks through to get into my news what do you call it? Where the Facebook, what do you call it? When you scroll the Facebook, so something new may show up. So I don't think we're going down. We're going up. We're increasing the speed. In addition to this question, AI, even if we compare the achievement of recent years in the form of ChatGPT, I think it loses at this stage to the achievements in the form of iPhone, Google Search, YouTube. Just different things, I think. Of course, Google Search, YouTube, iPhone, they were big, definitely big contributions to the humanity, to us, to people. So people who created them definitely moved this civilization forward. But it seems to me that we are even faster moving now, even faster. So I'm, like I told you on last week, I told you that I'm very scared about what's happening in the future. And I'm scared. I'm really not maybe scared is not the really accurate word, but I don't know exactly what to expect in two areas, in the politics. So I don't know how much trouble we're looking for, and that this trouble may be very big. And the second, I don't know what we're looking for in terms of technologies. So it may be this AI thing may really change our life, and what else will be invented by people, and in what hands these AI things will end up. That's a subject for concern, for thinking. Next question. If in one of your QA sessions you mentioned that you never drank alcohol, is it still the same? Yeah, that's true. I never tried alcohol in my life, and no cigarettes. I'm just trying to stay clean. I can explain why. Maybe it's just one of the explanations. I don't think it's something special. I think many people live like that as well, and it's becoming more and more trendy to stay away from any substances which are supposed to support you, to help you somehow, to help you go through the struggle, to help you, to assist you, to help you. But while they help, they at the same time do you a bad favor. They kind of they create a fake illusion in your head that you actually are more powerful than you are. So they help you to get through this struggle, but it makes they make you weaker for the next struggle, for the next challenge. So it seems to me like a cheating. You cheat in order to get through this situation. But the more you do that, the less the less strong you just weaken yourself. I don't think it's a good idea in general. Another question that's in Russian. I'm a programmer. I work for 2.5 years. I work on 2 jobs. I'm making this money on one pretty good amount. I'm making $4,500 a month, I believe, on one job, and another one 1.5. So together, that's a lady. So she's making $6,000 every month in Russia, I believe, because of the name. So I think it's pretty good. I got another offer for 5,000, so it's a little bit less. I like my work. No, the work doesn't like. No, current work. I don't like the current work. I'm trying to translate from Russian. So what is exactly the question? Do I need to take yet another work? Probably this offer is from abroad. Okay, I try to understand what you're asking. So you're asking, you have already 2 jobs, and you're probably a programmer since you're watching this video, and there's another offer for another job for another $5,000. So you will be getting $11,000 every month. So the question is whether you should. And yes, definitely you should. I don't understand why you're asking this question. Take as many jobs as you can. If you can do what they expect you to do, then you just quit. So what's the problem? Why people keep asking themselves this question? Should I go there? Do I deserve this job? Can I do this job? Am I strong enough? Just do it. Just go for there. What's the worst case scenario that may happen? They will fire you. Okay, if they fire you, that's going to be the answer to your question. Was it worse taking this job? No, it wasn't. But you got something from there. You got some experience. You got some money. So absolutely not. Absolutely, do not hesitate. Just go for it. That's my advice. Next one. I was trying to get a job in some Russian technical company. They asked me, what do I watch in order to develop myself? And they mentioned my channel, and they said that their interests are not in line with the interests of the company. Well, yeah, so try to mention my name as little as possible, because some people do not share my views on life, my views on programming, my views on politics. So you better, it's not only about me. So if I tell you what I watch and I tell you what YouTube channels I am subscribed to, then maybe you also not gonna like me, and you maybe will unsubscribe from me. So people, unfortunately, people now are weak, many people, and they're getting weaker and weaker in terms of handling another opinion. So we're getting more intolerant to other opinions. In our fight for tolerance, in our idea that we should be tolerant to other people, we end up in the situation as a society where we are extremely scared of different opinions. We just don't know what to do with them. We don't know how to fight with other people anymore. We don't know how to argue. We don't know how to defend our opinions. We don't know how to protect our beliefs, to protect our philosophy. Why it happened? Because we are trained by the society. The society taught us during the last decades that we must be tolerant. We must be careful about what we say. We must be very sensitive about the feelings of other people. We must care about how we look, about how we are being perceived, about many things. And we became like that. We became the people without the muscles. We were toothless people right now. So we are not ready to be in front of people who we disagree with. And that's why when you tell them that you are, that you like that kind, you read these books, you believe in this God instead of that God, you watch these movies instead of that movies, they don't know what to do with you. It's just dangerous for them. It's not because they really oppose your ideas. They really believe that you're the enemy and you must be destroyed. No, they just don't know how to communicate with you later. They're not prepared for fights. They're not prepared for arguments. They're weak. I don't want to say they're pussies, but they're weak. they just are. So I said what I wanted to say. Just don't blame them. That's the whole situation. Just stay quiet. If you want to get the job, just say, yeah, I watched the cats and dogs. I like the movies about cats, and I like the movies about dogs. That's what I love. That's all I watch on YouTube. Politics? No, I don't understand politics. What kind of programmers do you like? Well, I like Donald Knuth. That's my favorite author. You're not going to make a mistake if you're saying that. So just keep saying the obvious things if you want the society to take you as a person which is safe to deal with. And they're all looking for safeness. They're all looking for comfort zone. They're not ready to handle the person with a different opinion. Me either, to be honest. I also have the same symptoms. I also see that I cannot I argue with people less and less. If I remember myself 20 years ago or 30 years ago when I was in school, I remember having fights every day, not fights physical, but in argument, the verbal fights, the discussion, the making my point, convincing somebody, disagreeing with somebody, making friends, losing friends, making enemies, talking to enemies, convincing enemies that they're wrong. We had that. Now I don't have this. Now the moment I start this, for example, in the office or with a friend, they just stay quiet. They just completely go out of the discussion. People just scared of any confrontation. And I don't think it's good for the society. I don't think this is how we can build the society which is capable of protecting the ideas together, which is capable of making decisions as a society, of actually protecting the good from the bad. So we as a society need to know how to protect the good what we have inside from the bad. But if every individual, every element of the society is weak, is scared, is afraid, then how the whole society can be strong? Maybe that's the idea, making us tolerant in order to make us weak, in order to make us less capable of fighting for our interests. Think about it. Next question. If you're tired of writing servers on Java and sending JSON files back and forth, what kind of programming I should be looking for? What's my next step? Well, I suggest you to stop, like I said in the beginning, stop being a programmer. Stop thinking of yourself as a programmer. Become researcher. Become a person who finds more fundamental problems in computer science and start solving these problems. Yeah, you still need to write something in Java and send these JSON files and make these controllers. This is what you do for a living because you want these guys to pay you money. But start looking for a bigger problem. Start looking for a bigger challenge in programming, in computer science. Maybe something is wrong with Java. Create your own language. Try it. It is possible to create a programming language. Believe me, it is possible. Just make it. Or maybe you don't like something in a JSON format. Make your own format. Give us another format which is better than JSON. Why not? So invent something new and then defend yourself with this new idea. Put it on GitHub. Make a blog about it. Write a paper about it. Submit it to some magazine, Java World. Criticize Java. Write a letter, open letter on LinkedIn, on Hubber. Explain that Java is wrong and this and that. So make a contribution to computer science, to the society, not only to the guy who gives you the money. This guy is making you, is using you. And now you're asking me, okay, what else can I do so he can use me better? I don't have an answer for this kind of question. What do you think about another question? What do you think about a developer working in a non-admin user on its corporate laptop? For instance, to install an application or run a script, they need admin permissions. To get this, he has to request permissions through a specific application for approval from a department. Oh, it's like another question. It's like you're like telling me about your pain. Well, it's welcome to the corporate world. This is how corporations are this is how corporations control us people. How would you control if you would be the big boss of a corporation? You would do exactly the same because you deal with thousands of people. Some of them are thieves, some of them are criminals, some of them are dishonest people, and you don't know who exactly because there are many of them. You can't look at their eyes every morning. There's a huge tons of people. Some of them have very low moral standards. So we need to protect the corporation against these potentially bad apples in the entire garden. So we restrict what they can do on their laptops. That's just inevitable. So don't use this laptop. I mean, I have two laptops, for example. I work on two computers. I have the corporate laptop, which I use in my office, and then another one, which I use when I do something, for example, on open source. And I use both of them because I understand that the company doesn't want me. The company doesn't trust me. And that's normal. This is how I would build a company. So that's why on the computer, which was given to me by the company, I do what the company wants to protect. On my own, I do what I do. So it's don't expect the company to be your friend. Don't expect the company to be your family and your home and everybody trust you. Definitely not. The first thing, they don't trust you. The attitude of a big company to an employee is distrust, first of all. Otherwise, the company would not survive. Because people are, especially in the current world, where the morality is absolutely, not absolutely, but the morality has way less power than money. So the breaking the moral standards or losing money, there's incomparable in the current society. So money matters, and the moral principles, your moral image, doesn't matter at all. So let's say you steal something from the, not steal, but you do something for the company in a bad way. I know, but not steal something, but you behave in a company the way that people don't like you. So, for example, you cheat on in some project, you lie to people, you betray people, you make people feel bad about themselves. So you play against the moral principles and standards which we as a society in general believe into. And then you just quit this company and go to another company. In this company, nobody going to ask you about this. Nobody going to care. Nobody going to call that company in most cases and ask what this guy was in a moral way. They just care about your money. They care about your value, the monetary value of your. Maybe I didn't give the proper comparison, but let me go from another angle. So we as a society, we look at people by how much they have, by how much money they have, how much property they have. How this is the power of, this is how we evaluate people, by the value they, by the amount of money they have. And that's everywhere. That is what coming to us from the capitalist world, from the United States of America, from the Europe. They are us. I mean Russia. So in Russia, many years ago, when there was a Soviet Union, money didn't matter. The money didn't matter almost at all. So you can be extremely rich, but people are not going to invite you to their homes because they don't respect you, because they know about your moral standards. They know that you stole this money, for example, or they know that you made this money without in a not respectful way. So you had no chance to get into the society of the people who respect themselves, no matter how much money you have. Now the situation is the opposite. It doesn't matter what are your moral standards, what is your moral, who you are, speaking from the morality perspective. The only thing that matters is money. And in this situation, the company will not be able to anyhow blame you for doing things, for going outside of a moral standards, which we all expect. And they know that people can do that. They know that there will be almost no pressure on the people from other people if they know that somebody is misbehaving. So it's okay right now to steal. It's okay to abuse the company. It's okay to abuse your colleagues. It's acceptable. This behavior is way more acceptable than it should be. And this is what makes the company so scared of people, because people by themselves, they don't judge other people. They don't feel shame if they do something wrong. They don't feel guilt if they do something wrong. And because of that, the company has to control you using force, using power, using this password which they don't give to you. Another question. I used modular development instead of single repository with branches for big project, and it worked perfectly well, but all projects I know using branching was a real hell. Well, we just discussed the branching. Again, the branching will make your life hell if people are not motivated to finish. They're motivated to continue working. And branching is not the cause of the trouble. What is AI ML model that can help with geometry 3D drawing like CAD industry? Have no idea. Sorry, guys. It's not my area of expertise. Next question. I have a question about prefixes and postfixes. Is it acceptable to use them for abstractions, for example, abstract foo or foo interface? I think that it's better to use for anything you have in your code, like classes, and anything that is tangible, like classes, objects, or not methods, classes and objects and variables. So they have to be named like nouns. For example, book, car, file, disk, message, whatever. And when you need to explain them, then you put the words which explain them in the beginning, like black book, red car, big file, easy to send message. So I think they're obvious. I'm telling you the obvious things. So it would be weird if you say book and then black, so or the file big. So put the descriptor in front. Is there a future for Java? Next question. Yeah, there is future. Well, what do you mean by future? Is it going to be the language which will continue growing on the market? It's not growing right now. I think it's declining. So Java is losing market by the number of programmers. So if you read the Stack Overflow survey, which they publish every year, so then Java goes down, and Java is not winning market. It's losing market. I think it will continue like that, but to a certain extent. So it's not going to get out of top 10 languages. It will be within the top 10 languages for the next 10 years. I am sure about this. I cannot guarantee, but I'm sure about that. New languages will show up definitely, and they will, because most of the languages which we use, they are 30 years old. 30, 25, very old languages. So they were invented by people who, some of them are not alive anymore, and some of them are not even programming anymore. So it's time to invent something new. It's time to make new languages, and maybe even new programming paradigms, because we have object-oriented programming, which is 30 years old, which we have functional programming, which is who knows how many years old. So maybe we need something else, some new paradigms, especially with the appearance of ChatGPT. I think I said it last time that ChatGPT, this AI, is actually offering us a new way of writing code. So maybe there will be languages without syntax. Maybe there will be languages without an explicit intent of a programmer. So there will be implicit intent. So the programmer will just formulate the expectations instead of telling how to achieve these expectations. So that's coming, definitely coming. But Java will still be on the top 10 because of the investments already made. So the majority of applications, including financial applications, written in Java. So no way to get out of that. We maybe have a few more minutes, and then we will have to finish because it's already 1 hour. So keep your questions, and we can talk about them next time. I just don't have. I don't want to keep you for longer than an hour. But let's try. Let me pick a few questions for the next few minutes. Do you have a list of recommended books? Yes, go to my blog and type books, and you will get a list of recommended books. I'm a system analyst. I want to transition to project manager. All job descriptions, they require experience, which I don't have. How do I overcome that? Just lie to them. Just say you have the experience. Did you manage, a friend of yours when you were hunting? Yes, you did. That's it. That's your management experience. Did you manage your wife, for example, when you were cleaning the kitchen? Yes. Was she managing you when you were cleaning? Yes. This is also your management experience. You were managed. That's okay. Just improvise. Just invent your experience. Just make a fake company, write it down in your resume, which they cannot check. Just say, I was working in another country for 5 years and I was a project manager. Just read a number of books about project management and just lie about it. I don't see any wrong in that. Because if you are effective in this, if you can really present, if you can make it, if you can fake it till you make it, you know what they say, how they say it, fake it till you make it, then you will be good in this project management. I think so. If you're not going to be good, they will fire you. What do you lose? You don't have the job right now. You try, you get it, you lose it. You get back to the point number one. Then you try again. So absolutely no problem with that. And I don't think it's unethical. I don't think so. It's their responsibility to check your skills, to check your ability to work with them. If they don't check, or maybe it's okay for them to get a person who was capable enough to present the experience in the way they like it. Maybe they're ready to close their eyes on that and just get you on board and see how you present yourself, how you actually start acting. I once asked you, sorry about this. Next one. Do you like C++ to any extent or not? By the way, what's the future of Unreal Engine and Unity game engines? I have no idea what is Unity game engine. Well, I know the name, but I have no practical experience with that. And what's my opinion about C++? You can find an interview with Bjorn Stroustrup on my channel, on my YouTube channel. I was talking to the inventor of C++. I think it was 2 years ago. So my opinion still is that this language actually damaged the world of object-oriented programming, like seriously damaged. And how many more years it will take for us to get out of this damage and to improve the situation, I don't know. But it was necessary at that time. So the language actually made object-oriented programming practical. From the world of small talk and the languages which were, it was not possible to use at all because they were slow and they were difficult to understand for practical programmers. So the Mr. Stroustrup, Dr. Stroustrup, gave us C++, which any programmer with zero experience, with zero understanding of what is good design, they can use. So it made object-oriented programming popular, but at the same time, it ruined the idea of object-oriented programming. What do you think about Flutter? I used it once in my life. I think it's bad idea to have. If this is what I'm thinking, Flutter is the framework where you code once and then you compile to Android, compile to iPhone, compile. I think it's not a good idea. Well, it's popular, of course, people use it, but when I was using it a few years ago, the experience was negative. So what you get, the application, the quality of application that you get was not. Maybe now the situation is different. I'm trying to find something interesting and then we finish. You ask me about these design patterns. That's not really a question for the end of the story. That's interesting. What are the key differences between team lead, tech lead, and engineering manager? These titles I hear so often, different titles. There's also principal engineer. Talking about managers, engineering manager, team lead, tech lead. There's also project manager. I know only project manager, who actually is in charge of managing things, and everything else is just the titles for people who are the scapegoats. So they're the people who to blame. It's for the management. It's difficult to deal with a group of people, to blame everybody for the failure. But they pick one guy and then they blame that particular person. And the guy with the strongest nerve, with the strongest nerves, with the best ability to fight back, with the best ability to not to get drunk when something goes wrong. So that's going to be the team lead, the tech lead, the whatever. All these titles are all the same to me. But this is not the project manager. The project management is a completely different story. You can watch my series of lectures about project management, which I teach right now. So we're in the middle of the course for university students. So in this course, I'm telling the students that project manager is not the person who is in front of the team and motivate the team and lead the team and make the team happy and make the team encouraged. This is not what the project manager do. Project manager is something completely different. Project manager, the job of a project manager, responsibility of a project manager is to know the future, is to forecast the future, is to predict the future, is to tell the boss that this project will fail in 3 months and that one will be successful in 7.5 months. If this information can be delivered to you, you deal with the project manager, but not just a number, but explained with the grounded number, with the formulas, with the proper explanation of why this number, where did this number come from. Then you deal with the project manager. Everything else, they're just guys who they're just there to help people, to maybe mentor people, to blah 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 people. I don't consider them as managers at all. Okay, maybe we're closing here. I see. Thank you very much. Blah blah blah. Hello from Argentina. Hello guys from Argentina. Thanks for coming. Okay, final question. We saw a photo teaser about the forthcoming movie. Could you open the veil a little bit? Yes, definitely. There's a movie coming. We're finishing the editing, so we filmed a little movie with the best possible way. So we got a crew, the movie crew. We got I was the director. There were people, the camera people, the sound people, the actor. It's a very small, short movie, just 5 minutes. It's not even the movies, I would say, not even a short movie, just a small, tiny. But I did like it, and I think I will continue in this direction, trying to make more movies. It's just a hobby, I'm doing it on a weekend. So but it's very interesting. It is, and there are many similarities with programming. You'll be surprised. So how we manage software development is very similar to how they manage movie production. They're also lazy people. They're also people who don't understand what they're doing. They're also people who are not motivated. So you need to use the same instruments, the same principles of managing people as we do in software development teams. But I didn't know that. And when I joined, I believe there is a different story. I believe that they have some creative people, creative minds who are actually artists. Absolutely not true. Exactly the same story as with programmers. We programmers also tell everybody that we're creative people. You cannot control us. We only work when we're not being under control. We're not being punished for anything. Absolutely not true. The same for movie people. You need to manage them like you manage programmers. Otherwise, you'll get no result. That's my very short experience of just working with a very small, tiny movie. So that's it. Thank you very much for coming. See you next week, the same time. Bye-bye.